Senator Mike Braun, Republican of Indiana, has been kind enough, patient enough to stand by. He's been listening to Senator Schumer. So let's get your reaction, Senator Braun. What did you think? Are you ready to allow witnesses and more documents to come forward in this next phase of this Senate trial?
So that's not the first time I've heard exactly what Senator Schumer said. And as long as he's been here, I think he knew quite well what the dynamic was going to be. And I think they're going to have to play through that. The fact that it came over here when it did, and that the rules will be controlled by our side. And I was for a fair presentation. If I feel that I need more information, I'll have an open mind towards witnesses. But we've already had 11 videotape witnesses. They had 3 in the Clinton proceedings. And the only guideline we have, Wolf, is what happened 20 years ago. So, and I think it's also a little bit of a faux argument, because if and when we get to witnesses, it will certainly involve, and I'm almost 100% certain this would be across the board in our conference, a reciprocal nature of witnesses. And they know quite well who those witnesses would be on our side. I think it's disingenuous to talk about their needing witnesses when they've categorically dismissed the fact that any of our witnesses would be relevant. So that is a difficult discussion as well.
Senator, it's Jake Tapper.
Yeah.
John Bolton, the former national security advisor, has made it pretty clear that he's ready and willing to testify. All he needs is a subpoena. He's also made it clear through his attorney that he has relevant information. Why would you not want to hear from him?
Well, I think at this point, you got to put it in the context of how long the whole process has taken to get here. Stumbled in a way when the Mueller report didn't work out. You got a guy like John Bolton, who knows which way he would testify. Bolster maybe the president's point of view. I think that's got to fall into the larger framework. I can guarantee you, if Bolton comes in, there would have to be something worked out to what witness they'd agree to in a real quid pro quo. If they get a witness, we're going to get a witness. And I do know the process. If we get there, that's the way it'll work once we cross the threshold of whether we need more information. I can tell you this, of any senator here, I think I paid as much attention because I've heard comments, well, I learned something new. I watched all 3 versions of the House inquiry, and this is repackaged in the same information. There wasn't one frame in the audio visual that I had not seen before, and they did put together an impressive presentation if you look at the massive amount of information and the repetition. But I think it's going to have to cut more deeply if they're going to make the case, especially to people from where I'm from in Indiana and throughout the heartland of the country.
So I understand the inclination of somebody who is Republican to support a Republican president, just as I understand the inclination of a Democrat to support a Democratic president. Are you not concerned that if the Senate does not do a thorough and vigorous examination of the facts, including hearing from a very conservative Republican, former national security advisor, who is practically begging to testify to let his facts be known to the country, are you not concerned that you are then setting up an argument from Democrats that this is a sham trial, that Republicans who control the Senate didn't have any interest in hearing all the relevant facts, and therefore, Democrats will argue, therefore, President Trump has not truly been exonerated. He has actually just been helped by a cover-up? Because that is what Democrats will argue if Republicans do not permit those who want to testify to testify.
And I think each Republican senator will have to answer that question. And I think it's going to boil down to the context within which this all occurred. I recently, just today, spoke to somebody from my home state, my hometown, that is not drilling in on the process part of it, or even what you talked about. Mostly concerned that it came over as a purely partisan package. So it's going to be different in every state how this is measured. I do think it's aimed at the swing states. And I think they probably did what they did on the first evening to trot out each document request, each witness request, to kind of do it virtually, knowing that it may not get to witnesses. So I think they kind of covered their bases there. And whether we're held accountable because we didn't fully get information, or whether we're held accountable by our own constituents that we're belaboring a process, it's going to be up to each senator to measure that.
So you'll make up your mind, I assume, in the next few days, and we'll see what happens. Senator Mike Braun, you've been very patient. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, you're welcome.
All right, Democrats.